The Texas Parks and Wildlife television series is funded in part by a grant from the Wildlife and Sport Fish Restoration Program. Through your purchases of hunting and fishing equipment and motorboat fuels, over $50 million in conservation efforts are funded in Texas each year. Additional funding provided by Ram Trucks. Guts, glory, Ram. Coming up on Texas Parks and Wildlife.
I love it in the spring when I'm out here turkey hunting and everything's quiet and just the nature is speaking.
It was part of a railroad put in 1913. Here at Old Tunnel, we have about 3 million bats.
Hey, Sean, this is why I love catching wads. They're little fish, but they use the river to fight.
Texas Parks and Wildlife, a television series for all outdoors.
It's springtime in East Texas, and love is in the air. This is mating season for the eastern wild turkey. And turkey lover Terrance Jackson is trying to call in a gobbler.
Just hearing that sound come at you through the timber and it's amplified.
They came in quiet and we didn't know they was over there.
But it just gets the adrenaline going and the heart pumping, and it's just nothing like it.
If it was a season, he would have been gone. He'd have been toast.
I've always loved the woods, and I love East Texas. I would live out here if I could. I was raised in East Texas in Henderson County, a little town called Malakoff. And when I was a youngster, I was always going and running through the woods. I guess I just got interested in turkeys, I think, when I was a kid and I was watching Wild America, Marty Stafford, when he did a special on wild turkeys. And I was like, those are beautiful birds. I started hunting Easterns a long time ago. My first place that I went on a turkey hunt was public land, and I went there and shot at my first turkey that I caught in, and I missed him. And I guess it's been a vendetta ever since. I've been after him. Every year I'm turkey hunting in the spring. I love it when I'm out here and everything's quiet and just the nature is speaking. I go in listening. On the turkey hunt, that's what it's about. It's about listening to what's going on around you and being aware.
Two jakes coming in. Yeah, I don't want to come out here and shoot a jake. Every bird I've taken out here has been a 2 or 3 year old bird. I just like to give them a shot. I come here every year, so if they make it through the season, they'll be nice long birds next year. Well, we know they're in here. See if we can get an old bird talking.
The story of the wild turkey in Texas has been one of feast and famine. When European settlers started coming to East Texas, turkeys were thriving. One early settler wrote, "The droves of wild turkeys are so numerous, they disturb the traveler with their clucking." But those settlers quickly changed the landscape.
Around 1925, a hunter could harvest up to 25 turkeys a year. By the 1940s, there were less than 100 eastern wild turkeys throughout East Texas. Overharvest as well as habitat decline really led to the demise of the population.
In the 1970s, the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department started a program bringing wild trap turkeys from other states to Texas.
All right, girl. See you in Texas.
And the program looked promising. Over the next 20 years, more than 7,000 eastern wild turkeys were stocked in East Texas.
Now we're using a super stocking strategy where we release 80 turkeys onto one area of good habitat in hopes that the population will grow from there.
Thanks to the success of these stockings, a spring hunting season has reopened in parts of East Texas.
Yeah, they travel through here on the regular. I see yesterday's tracks and 2 sets from today. A couple of birds moving through here. When I'm on these turkey hunts, basically I love to get away from the busyness of Houston and work and the crowdedness. The sound of the birds, the quiet in the morning, and walking through the woods is something that pulls at you. But I can't tell if that's a hog, or a hog come through and try to root something, or yeah, that's hog rooting. Feral hogs can be detrimental to turkey nests. Typically, I'm prayerful every time I'm out here, and I've gotten good response. While we were sitting out and the sun was beaming, I said a little prayer. I'd be much obliged if we got a little cloud cover and got a little relief, and we got more than what we bargained for. The rain started coming down pretty hard, and so I used my best to block as much as I could. While it was coming down and I was sitting under that vest, drenched, I was like, well, what more can I say? I don't guess there's much else I can say. Is this it? Is it over?
Not quite over. Once the rain let up, something crept up. Snorting. Feral hogs.
They had her rooting up stuff. That's a danger to the nesting hens out here. Like at least pop one, maybe that'll run them up out of here. This will make for some good eating right here. This has been a long week. All of the ripping and running and walking miles through the woods and up hills and downhill, and it's just been a challenge this year. Even though it was tempting to take those jakes that first day, with it being Easterns and we not having a lot of them out here, I just didn't have it in me to pull the trigger. I'd hope to get out there and hunt them as 2-year-olds next year and give them a chance to help repopulate the area.
The turkey was here before we were, and I think it's important that we preserve this area so that turkeys can thrive here, and hopefully the turkey population will expand into other linked habitats that are nearby.
You win some, you lose some. We'll give it another shot next year. When that season opens, I'll be out there hunting those Easterns. See if we can make it happen.
This project was funded in part by a grant from the Wildlife Restoration Program.
They circle around here a few times to get elevation to get above the trees. Basically a tornado of flying bats. It's spectacular. I mean, I've been watching it for 11 years and I still don't get tired of it. It's just amazing. For people who've never seen it before, it's fun to watch their faces and see how amazed they are. I can't compare it to anything else. It's just pretty cool. I'm Nysa Brown, and I am the park superintendent here at Old Tunnel State Park. It was part of a railroad that was put in 1913. The people in Fredericksburg were trying to get to San Antonio quicker, and they had a railroad that went from San Antonio over to Kerrville. And that rail line wouldn't lay tracks over this hill because they said it was too big for them to pull freight cars and passenger cars. And so people in Fredericksburg decided to start their own railroad. And they decided to tunnel through the hill. They started in March of 1913 and they were done by July of 1913, and they dug it out by hand. And the first train ran through August 1913, and it was in operation until 1941. And then it was bankrupt, so they decommissioned it. In the 50s, a rancher that lived down the road saw smoke coming from this direction, and he thought something had caught fire over here, came to investigate, and it was the bats. So they've been here since the early 50s, for sure. Here at Old Tunnel, we have the Mexican freetails, which our population is at its peak right now of about 3 million bats. And we also have about 3,000 cave myotis bats. They can maneuver through trees and bushes pretty easily. You can see their wingspan is quite a bit longer on the freetail. Freetails are migratory bats. So they migrate here for the summer, and then they stay through the fall until about the end of October, and then they'll head back down to Mexico where they can still find food through the winter. Over 21,000 people come just during bat season to see the bats. And that's not counting all the people that come during the day just to hike the trail and maybe look at the tunnel, because there's a lot of people interested in the history too.
Good show. It's a beautiful night for bats.
We have 2 viewing areas. Our upper viewing area is open every night of the week, and it's always free. And it's usually a good view from up there when the bats are coming out earlier. This lower viewing area is only open on Thursday through Sunday nights for a $5 per person fee. It's a good view from down here most of the season. Most of the bats here in the United States are eating insects, so very beneficial to agriculture. There are bats that eat mosquitoes, so that's a good bat to have around.
These bats are active all year round.
People are more educated now than they have been in the past. I don't find as many people that are afraid of bats as I used to. So I think that perception is changing a bit. And more people are understanding how important bats are to the environment, so they want to help them rather than be afraid of them.
Dang it!
Is that a fish?
Yes. It was right in that foam line.
Courtney and Brandon Robinson love to fish the South Llano River.
We have kind of 2 branches of the river converging right here.
They're fly fishing for Guadalupe bass.
We're not looking at a whole bunch of deep pools. It's more shallow water, skinny water.
Fish on. This is why I love catching guads. They're little fish, but they use the river to fight.
So we're gonna see little bass in the shoals area, like in that little rapids area over there. There we go. Just a little guy.
But catching these little Guadalupe bass hasn't always been so easy.
We're here on the South Llano River and we're electrofishing Guadalupe bass. There's some fish in there. See how the population here that we've been working on in the last few years is doing.
The Guadalupe bass, the state fish of Texas, was once on the brink of disappearing from the South Llano River. The introduced smallmouth bass has been crossbreeding with the native Guadalupe for decades.
They can breed with each other, and what results is what we call a hybrid. And those fish they're not our pure native Guadalupe bass, so we're trying to restore these populations throughout the state.
We'll probably go on down to the day use area and walk down there just so we get the fish nicely spread out.
Biologists came up with the idea to basically push the smallmouths out of the South Llano and other hill country rivers by stocking millions and millions of native Guadalupe bass fingerlings.
We're stocking large numbers of these pure fingerlings, and what the goal is that these pure fish outnumber the hybrids, and so that we reduce that overall hybridization rate and get it back to where we have an almost entirely pure population of Guadalupe bass. There you go.
The large one there.
So now, based on these frequent trips to check on the conservation efforts,
Guadalupe Bass, 228.
the data shows the pure Guadalupe are back.
We've been working on Guadalupe bass here in the Texas Hill Country for about 25 years and been really successful in restoring these populations and these iconic Texas Hill Country streams with their clear waters. And now we have Guadalupe bass and a lot more reaches of these streams here for people to enjoy.
Oh, God.
Very nice.
And that's good news for avid anglers like Brandon and Courtney.
Good size quad.
Nice.
That's why the Llano River is such a great river to fish, because these fish are here.
This project was funded in part by a grant from the Sport Fish Restoration Program.
We're here in Mission Espiritu Santo de Zúñiga, established at this site in 1749. One of the most interesting features we have here is an annual event we call the Illumination. In a lot of the Franciscan missions, there is a documented event that will usually coincide with some sort of a solar event. A lot of times it's one of the holy days of the Catholics. In our mission, we have something that happens every year on April 16th, and we don't really have an official explanation for it. But basically what happens is the sun will set in the window of the sun, as we call it, and cast a direct beam of light onto the crucifix here. It happens every year on April 16th at around 7 p.m. One of the things we do know is that April 16th is an important holy day for the Franciscans. It's the anniversary of the founding of the Franciscan order. And so it is a very important day for the Franciscans. It's a day that they renew their vows and rededicate themselves to the faith. And so we think that this may have been something that the missionaries here planned to help to convert the native people here and also to celebrate their faith.
Alleluia, alleluia.
It's something we get a lot of questions about, probably more questions than we have answers, but we're always researching it and trying to figure out more about it. It's kind of hard to study because it only happens once a year, and so if we get clouds on that one day, we have to wait an entire year to see if, yes, it is happening on the 16th again. From what I've seen over the last few years, generally the whole thing starts and finishes in about 20 minutes. It'll start at the lower left-hand side of the altar and kind of work its way up towards the center. And usually by about 7:15, 7:20, it's hit dead center and it's on its way out.
Biologists Bill Reiner and Jim O'Donnell are looking for a tiny little bird.
The nest is in the juniper tree, and it's about 6 meters up the tree. And she's sitting on the nest right now.
They are studying an endangered bird that nests only here in the hill country of central Texas.
This is pretty typical of their habitat. They like a more closed forest environment rather than an open, mixed prairie woodland.
This is the bird. It's a tiny warbler, the golden-cheeked warbler, and it's pretty special round these parts.
Golden-cheeked warblers are unique in the sense that they nest nowhere else in the world but in central Texas. There's no other bird in the world that you can say that about, but golden-cheeked warblers, everyone is a native Texan because everyone was born here.
Here in the rolling hills of central Texas is the Balcones Canyonlands Preserve. It's a 30,000-acre preserve right in the middle of a continually growing city of Austin. And this preserve is where Bill and Jim monitor these rare warblers.
I found the nest 2 days ago. It was a female golden cheek warbler. The female does all the building. She uses primarily the bark of ash juniper trees for the structure of the nest, and then she binds it together with sticking materials like spider webbing.
It turns out these unique birds only nest here because they are dependent upon hill country ash juniper, or commonly known as cedar trees.
The golden cheek warbler is only going to breed in this particular habitat. They build their nest out of ash juniper bark, and they've evolved over the thousands of years this relationship with the tree.
Herein lies the struggle. Some consider native Texas junipers a weed when they invade pastures and outcompete grasses and wildflowers. And like the warbler, people need places to live as well.
A lot of the forest areas that used to house golden cheek warblers are now housing human beings. So much of the reason for the species being listed as endangered has been because of changes that we've made to the landscape.
Gotta find a good rock.
To get an idea on population numbers,
And this mist net's 6 meters long.
the duo teams up to catch some.
It's almost invisible. We've actually caught people who aren't paying close attention and walking close to the net. We try to find habitat where we have a narrow opening in which we can have the birds come down to a low perch. And it's where they're going to want to cross back and forth.
He's moving around a lot.
We're going to entice him down with the song.
He's trying very hard to figure out where this rival is. Ah, close. He sounds agitated now. Got him. It's always important to see which side he came in on. Well, you managed to get your head twisted in there pretty good, didn't you, buddy? All right. Let's put the bands on. His right leg now has an orange band over a silver band.
One of the things that banding helps us with is longevity studies.
So it's mauve over dark green, orange over silver.
And what we're finding is some of the older growth habitat, closed canopy habitat, seems to be some of the favorite habitat for these guys.
You're a feisty little critter. It's really good to see them snap because that means that he's very alert, he's still in good shape, and then just let him fly off. Whoosh.
We're going to be checking on this golden cheek nest. It's been about 7 days since we've been here. So we're going to check to make sure that the nest is still active.
The female's coming in, and she's got a caterpillar. Caterpillars are wonderful protein sources this time of year.
This mom's been busy with 3 new chicks that are 7 days old.
The male's coming in now. He's been banded. He was banded 2 years ago.
The future of the golden-cheeked warbler is dependent on prime nesting habitat. Preservation of these hill country cedar forests is the key before these warblers disappear altogether.
One of the great things about the Balcones Canyonland Preserve is it's now coming back that we have trees here that are over 100 years old. We're setting the stage here for the return of those old growth forests.
Golden cheek warbler is continuing to face pressures from urban growth, from changes that we are doing to its habitat and to the planet. We hope with the establishment of the Balcones Canyonlands Preserve, putting this land in some protection, that we can help them to survive into the future.
This series is funded in part by a grant from the Wildlife and Sport Fish Restoration Program. Through your purchases of hunting and fishing equipment and motorboat fuels, over $50 million in conservation efforts are funded in Texas each year. Additional funding provided by Ram Trucks. Guts, glory, Ram.